5, if you will, please. Matthew chapter 5. Let's begin in verse 38. You've heard that it has been said, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, that you resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if a man will sue thee the law, and take away thy coat, give him thy cloak also. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain. Give to him that asketh thee, and from him that would borrow of thee turn not thou away. You have heard that it hath been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you. Verse 45, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven, for he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. Now, for our lesson tonight, I'm going to keep it brief. We have very important activities coming up after our usual evening worship service, and we're celebrating the graduation of Rose Duke, and that's very important, especially as an important day in her life. So I'm going to keep my remarks short, and we want to focus on something that is in the very center of this text. It's verse number 41. J. Wayne Kilpatrick, this is not Wayne Kilpatrick in Florence, this is J. Wayne Kilpatrick that lives down and used to live in Montgomery. I'm not sure where he is now, but he says, always do a little more than anyone has the right to expect of you. And I think that sums that up pretty good, because in verse 41, it says, whosoever shall compel thee to go 1 mile, go with him 2. Now, we have all studied this time and time and time again, and I don't need to do word studies and spend a lot of time explaining what this means. The second mile service simply means do a little bit extra. Just do a little bit more, a little extra, a little bit above what is expected of you. Second mile principle has the power to literally change the world. And if we would only use that in the church, in our homes, and in other ways, it would really make a difference in our lives. It would make us better parents and better students, and certainly would bring us better success and greater success in business. I remember a story, I think I may have told you this story before, but it's a true story about a man who is 38 years old, and he has worked for those 30 whatever years and is retiring from a corporation as a multi-millionaire. And people were astounded that he, in 38 years of life, had become so immensely wealthy. And of course, they wanted to know his secret. He said, well, it's pretty simple. He said, when I was a student, I did the assignment, and then I did just a little bit extra. When I was in college, I did the assignments, plus did a little bit extra. When I accepted my first job, I did the work that I was told to do and always did just a little extra. And he said, when I accepted my first job in business, I kept that same philosophy. I did what people might expect of me and just a little bit more. Now, here's what I want to focus on tonight. I want us to think for just a few minutes about those people who have positively affected our lives because they have gone the second mile for us. Now, as I speak to you, feel free to let your mind wander back to school, to the third grade, the second grade, and think about someone whose influence impacted your life. Now, it isn't, of course, just school. I mean, there are all kinds of second mile people. Let me give you a brief list of some second mile people that all of us can understand and appreciate. Firemen. It always astounds me. Firemen and policemen, when shots are fired, they run toward the danger instead of running for safety and duck and cover. They run toward the problem. Firemen are just an amazing group of people. Policemen, nurses. I don't know if you've had the experience that I have had, but if you have a life-threatening surgery and you are coming out of anesthesia from life-threatening surgery, and you have a nurse that adopts you and takes care of you and sees to your every need and holds your hand when you're hurt, it's amazing. It's amazing the impact that a caring nurse can have. Well, you might have your wife on one side of the hospital bed holding your hand and the nurse on the other side. But I think you understand what I'm talking about. EMTs, soldiers, counselors, mothers, school teachers, missionaries, and the list goes on and on and on. In last month's issue of the Magnolia Messenger, I read a story, and you could have gotten one of these if you had beaten me to it. You could have gotten this one. But it had a story in it about a school teacher that really touched me. And it brought my mind back to a time that I had school teachers that affected my life and made a difference. And sometimes we fail to realize how important that is. And now we're coming to a period of time when we're celebrating all of these graduations and people are leaving high school and perhaps going on to college or somewhere else. But they take all of those memories from all of those years along with them. The good with the bad. I will bet you that every one of us, if we should desire, could sit down and write a story about a teacher that positively affected your life. This gentleman is a gospel preacher. His name is Bobby Wade. He's preached the gospel for 65 years. And I just want to read a clip from what he has written in this. it just touched me, and I thought it was so important that I felt like I should mention it. The teacher's name was Miss Bates. Now, he wasn't a good student in the first 3 years of school. As a matter of fact, they held him back in the first grade because he was a poor reader. But in the third grade, there was a young woman. She related well with her students, was warm and friendly, and there was just something about her that made her right. Just made her the kind of teacher that you love. She was gifted at drawing and doing artwork, and Bob enjoyed drawing as well, and she picked right up on that and noticed that he also liked to draw, and so she helped him and assisted him with his painting and with his artwork. And he so much looked forward to every day being with Miss Bates because she was just what he needed at that time. Now, Bob was also a little bit mischievous, like some boys are from time to time. And when he was, he says, she dealt with my attitude forthrightly. Now, that goes along with teaching, doesn't it? Sometimes we can love, and go the second mile, but sometimes we have to deal with mischievous children in a very forthright way. He said, I can recall exactly what the issue was, and he said, I remember exactly the words that she used. He said, she said, if you don't stop that, your name is Mud. Well, for him, must have worked. Must have worked. One of the greatest professions of confidence that she showed in him is when she nominated him to be the school boy patrol. That's a patrol boy that helps children cross an intersection. But listen to this. I went on to high school, eventually graduated, went to college, and so forth. But he said, to my knowledge, Miss Bates only taught 1 year at that school in Owensboro, Kentucky. He said, as far as I know, she only taught 1 year. And he said, I have a bad recollection because as I think back upon that time that the school year was ending and Miss Bates was leaving and we were all going into a different grade, he said, I walked by her room and looked through her window, and she had her head laying down on her desk and appeared to be crying. He said, I assumed it was because it would be her last year teaching at that school. And he said, I thought for a minute I should go in and comfort her because she meant so much to me. But he said, I chose not to. He just looked through the window. I walked on by. Here's the message that I would like to share with you tonight. Don't walk on by. If you have second mile people, and you do, all of us do, take the time to stop and say, thank you. I appreciate what you've meant. Just thank you is probably plenty. If you see a school teacher, you know, honestly, teaching school is tough. You deal with a myriad of problems Some good, some bad, but it's a tough, tough job. And I will bet you that there are some children who care enough to go the second time and stop by the classroom and say, well, you know, I just hate that I'm leaving your class, and I want to thank you for all you've done to help me. I know that there are some who think to do that, but I'll bet you there are hundreds who do not. And I will bet you that there are parents who call a teacher up and say, I want to thank you for what you've done for Jimmy this semester, or for Bobby this semester. But I'll bet you there are way more who do not. And so, for those people who commit to the second mile, who make our lives better and improve our lives, who go that second mile for us, I would suggest we pause for a moment and just say thank you to those people. How many times have you stopped a police officer and just said, you know, I never did thank you for giving me that speeding ticket in Russellville. I'll bet you the emotion didn't run that way. But probably after he gave me the speeding ticket in Russellville, he may have spent the next 4 or 5 years doing it right, you know, and just writing warning tickets, you know. But my point is, they put their lives out there for us. And they don't get paid a lot. You may think they do, but they don't get paid a fortune. And it would be good if we would stop a police officer and say, thank you, I know it's tough. The world that you and I live in today, my goodness, it gets tougher and tougher and tougher, doesn't it? It just gets tougher all the time. And I'll mention this just briefly in passing. We unfortunately live in a time when there are shootings in houses of worship. And we've come to a point in our nation where we have to have men who are willing to say, I'll take the job of security. I'll watch the back door. I'll watch the parking lot. Now, 10, 15 years ago, we thought, well, you know, that might be a good excuse to skip the sermon part of worship. But our world has changed. Attitudes have changed. Behaviors have changed. And now, if you listen to the news, you realize there now is a need, I would even say a necessity, to have men who are willing to put themselves out there, to sit in that foyer, to keep someone from breaking through our doors, to sit out there and watch our parking lot to make sure no one is up to mischief. I hate to say it, but that's just the way it is in our world today. We have to have eyes in the back of our head, as it were. And we have to watch our back, even in worship service, of all things. There is a sharp increase and rise of hatred against the Jewish people. And we thought for years that was on the decline and that was over with. But anti-Semitism is on the rise even in our country. In our own country, synagogues are being broken into and people shot. And It's the most hideous and horrible thing to imagine. And I never will forget, and probably you won't either, the picture of Rabbi Yoshel Goldstein, who was in that synagogue out in California, in Poway, California, who, when the shooter came in, Yoshe Goldstein, the rabbi, stood and tried to talk him down. He had his hands like this, and the guy shot 2 fingers off. While the rabbi was talking to him, trying to talk him down, the shooter shot 2 of his fingers off. And we think, how can this happen in our country? I don't know. Evil, I suppose. But you and I live in a world that has become quite dangerous. And it's more and more important for us to have second mile people that will help us and watch our backs for sake of a better term. Now, I want to close this with a kicker. And this first kicker is the progenitor, the person that came up with this idea of second mile service was none other than Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ was definitely, most definitely, a second mile person. God is a second mile person. You need only read John 3:16 to find out that God is a second mile person. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. And Jesus, the greatest example of a second mile person. Jesus was that person who went about doing good and healing people. And he was that individual that people should have flocked to and ran up to and said, thank you. Thank you for healing leprosy. Thank you for healing the deaf. Thank you for healing the blind. Thank you for giving yourself to save my sin. Thank you for all that you have done for me. He came to this world and was slain on a cruel cross. He was a second mile person. And I wonder, we'll just turn this on the same thing that I used a moment ago. We think about teachers and policemen. We think about EMTs and firemen. We think about mothers who raise disabled children. We think about the second mile people that surround us. And now let's think about Jesus. The single greatest second mile person who ever lived is the one that taught us that we should be second mile. Jesus didn't deserve to hang on that cross. Jesus had done nothing to deserve beating, scourging, the spear in his side, the nails in his wrists. Jesus had done nothing to deserve all that, but he did that because he was going the second mile for you and for me. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you taken the time lately to say thank you to Jesus for what he has done? Thank you. Thank you. 1,000 thank yous for this earth. For living, for going through what you did, for bleeding on that cross, suffering that horrible death, so that I could stand redeemed. You took my sin upon you. You took my guilt upon your back. You gave your life for me. In your life today, how do you go about your day appreciating Jesus for what he has done? What Jesus requires of us is that we obey him and do his will. And my gracious, what a small thing to ask of us, given what he has done. So here it is, folks. You ready? For all the second minders, the school teachers, the policemen, don't be so self-absorbed, don't be so selfish and go around in your own world to the point that you fail to stop a good school teacher and say thank you. Stop and say to a policeman, thank you for what you do. To stop and thank an EMT or a good nurse. Thank you for loving me and holding my hand when I thought I was going to die. And thank you, Jesus, for giving your life for me, for the redemption of my sin. Thank you. If you have not obeyed Christ, could I encourage you to do that? Wouldn't it just be the least you can do? As we stand together, if we can help you in any way, would you come while we say